If you are starting a new project from scratch, once you open SPSS, the only thing you need to do to start to type in your data, as you can imagine, is just click here, type in data, and then click OK. Then you are ready to start. In SPSS, when you are entering your data, you will have to deal with two windows. One is the variable view, which is selected by default, in the data view. In the variable view, you have all these columns that we will be filling in during this video. Now, for this example, imagine a researcher asks farmers to rank 5 brands of pesticide. So in the questionnaire that this researcher hands in to the farmers, they had to fill in their gender, education level, their age, and so on and so forth. So these are the variables that you have to write here. So let's start with gender. So in name, in this column, you will enter gender. Hit enter, and as you can see, automatically the program fills all this. We will be changing this now. In this column, you cannot start your names with a number, and you cannot include special characters like backslash or a dollar and so on and so forth. So if you enter a name that is not allowed by the program, you will receive a warning and you will have to rename it. Now in the column type, if you click here, you see that 3 dots appear. So now you click there and you are displayed this window. Now for the most time, numeric will suffice for everything, but you can also change the type from numeric to string, for example. So we will just leave it with numeric. Click OK. Now the width deals with the number of characters that can be entered for a variable in the data view here. So for example, now by default is 8. If I try to enter a variable with more than 8 characters, I will receive an error message. So again, for most of the time 8 will suffice. Now decimals, you can include decimals or no. In this case, this is gender, we don't need it. Label allows you to enter more information about the name of your variable, since these names tend to be really short. If you want, you can include more information there. Now value is a really important column. Here is where you enter information about if your variable is ordinal or nominal, for example. In this case, since we are filling our gender variable, we will click here and we'll enter the information as follows. In value, type 1, and in label, type male. Now click add. You see that this value have been added there. Now value 2, label female. Click OK, and now you have the values for this variable. Missing is in case if somebody forgot to tell the gender, then you can code this, so the people who is entering the data, who is writing the data, will enter this number. So in the analysis, you will know which variables are missing. Usually 999 will suffice, but I will prefer to add 9, 99, 999. Click OK. Now this is because sometimes you just have the 999 code as a missing value, but for example you might make a mistake and just enter 99 in your data view, so that will be perhaps a problem later. So with this you can try to cope up with this. Columns comes by default with 8, you can just leave it like that. Align, you can just leave it on the right, and measure, since this is gender, we will use a nominal measure. Roll is a column that you will not use. Really, I don't think that you will use this at all. You can just leave it by default as an input. You can just leave it like that. Now, let's continue entering our variables. Now, age is numeric. We can leave the default. Decimals, we can just type 0, label nothing. You don't have to enter nothing in values here because the measure is scale. In the missing values, again, 999, 999. Education, values by default, and in values we will enter the following information. Missing values again, 999 and 999. Or you can just click here, Ctrl T and Ctrl V, and you don't have to type in manually again. We will leave these values as they are, and we'll change the measure from scale to ordinal. And now we will type in the information for our 5 brands of pesticide. So we will call this variable pesticide. Again, no decimals. In our values, 1 is going to be box site. You can hit enter. 2, crawling insect. 3, terminator. 4, vamonos plague, and 5, death on arrival. Now, since we don't have a Likert scale to measure every brand, this is going to be, of course, an ordinal measure. Again, Ctrl T, Ctrl V, and there you go. Now that you have set up these variables, you will have to enter the information you recollected of this hypothetical researcher collected during the questionnaires. So imagine you have 20 participants and you start to type in manually all this data. So we are just making this app so you can understand how the data entry process works on SPSS. I will fill in all this. We already know 1 in gender is for male and 2 is for female. So I will fill in every cell here, and the same in age, education, and pesticides, and I'll return when I have filled in all this information. Okay, now I'm finished with the data entry, and now with this we will be able to run our first analysis, but that is for the next video. And now you will just have to type in this data by yourself so you can start to train once you have to deal with real projects. Nevertheless, as usual, we will include the data file, which is available in our blog. Thanks for watching and see you next time.